I'm not the strongest, I'm not the fastest, but I'm really good at suffering.
Yeah.
So
Why does that resonate with you? Because that like sits at the core of my being. That very notion.
Out-endure. You can train yourself to out-endure other people.
It really, so when I think about like what gifts, you've talked about this before, like everybody has a superpower, and one of my superpowers is the ability to suffer.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that you say and you know it's kind of tongue-in-cheek and a little bit funny, but at the same time, it's my fucking superpower. Like if people look at me and say, okay, well, how have you been able to do this? Because truly, you spend enough time with me, you will know very, very quickly, I am not the brightest person. And I don't pride myself in that. So that's not like, I'm not torn up about it.
Yeah.
Not the brightest person, didn't have any extreme advantages or anything growing up, certainly not physically more impressive than the next person. But my willingness to suffer is absurd.
Yeah.
And when you direct that at something that you care about, my whole thing is, the way that I think about it is, I'll outlast anyone, right? So on a long enough timeline, I can accomplish. And when people really start to look at that, but then it comes back to the next question, which I want to know from you, is what is the driver? What's that thing that makes you be so willing to suffer?
It's the promise of that crack hit for me, which is the aha moment.
In you or in you and other people?
So it's both. And the reason that I get such a high from it is if I can crack the code in the sense that I find something that saves people hundreds of hours, or myself hundreds of hours in the learning curve for a particular skill or a particular type of recovery, or fill in the blank, just an elegant or non-obvious solution to a long-standing problem, I'm like, oh, okay. I can't wait to see how people are going to respond when I provide that to 1,000 people and I see, for most of them, the vast majority just go, holy fuck. Like if you take someone, for instance, I didn't learn to swim until I was in my 30s. I think we may have talked about this. I grew up on Long Island, but I was deathly afraid of drowning because I had some near drowning incidents and some lung issues. And now at this point, I was taught by this gentleman named Terry Laughlin, something called total immersion, which I first learned from a book, which I was introduced to by Chris Sacca, who's a billionaire investor in this book, oddly enough. But you can take someone, which I did with Terry at one point for the Tim Ferriss Experiment, the first TV show I did. This mother of two, I think, Sarah, who had never been able to swim, couldn't even put her head underwater in the pool comfortably. And 4 days later, open water swimming 500 meters in the ocean in like 40-foot deep water, freestyle. And when you show someone that an impossible like that is not only possible, but that they can crack it really quickly, that's my drug of choice. I just get such a high out of it. The other thing, why am I willing to suffer? I'm willing to suffer because, I guess much like you, I feel like I have my deficiencies. I have plenty of weaknesses. To go to the extreme is partially present because I feel like the most interesting things happen at the fringes first.